I'm Jenna Ratmayakar. Today, we're gonna talk about the tips and tricks of Sage. And during this session, we're gonna talk about the certain things which would make your life easier when you're working with Sage. And I know all of the users are entering thousands, millions of transactions every day in Sage. So I hope whatever the discussing tricks and tips in today's session will help you to do those things pretty easy within minimum time period. So during this session, I'm going to talk about following content. First would be the setup and control shortcuts. And the next thing would be the data entry shortcuts. Basically, first thing would be setup and control shortcuts. And during this phase, I'm going to talk about the initial step, actually, the database levels, like without touching the SQL server or the database server, how we can do such changes within our login companies. And during this phase, I'm going to talk about how we can have different colors for each company, which will help us to identify and which will help us to do multiple work at the same time within different companies. And then I'm going to talk about the database dump and load. Dump and load basically known as a database backup and a restore, like what similar to the thing that what we do within the database server. Actually, this will have an impact, that kind of a thing. Like if you take a database backup and the way you restore, whatever the impact, same impact will be happen within the database dump and load. And next thing would be how to log in to the multiple companies within one LAN pack, and how you're gonna set up your initial printing destinations, whatever the basic controls and everything I'm gonna talk about today. And the next thing would be data entry shortcuts. This phase, this session, these slides will be immensely help you on finding and on doing such bulk work. When you're doing such bulk work, these shortcuts will help you to do those things pretty easily. So basically, I'll start from the database setup. So database setup is normally you can find once you install the Sage application at your desktop, you will be able to find database setup. And this is the place where we set up our login companies, and you will have to only this database setup can be accessed through the admin login because it does not allow to any other logins. As you can see here, I have set up my login companies, and how you're going to set up them. Obviously, you will have to start up setting your sys company where your system controls have. So at that time, you will have to set up sys company, and then only you will have to set up your database company where your real-time data is contained. So as you can see here, I have set up my sys company first of all, and I have given my database server connection details over here, and I have given the my sys database name, and I have make it as enable application security where it enable the application security. And then by referring to this sys company, I have created my dat company. So when I'm doing the dat company, always my database category will be company, and I should select my sys. So I'm gonna select my sys company as the SAM sys what I have initially set up, and I have given my preferred database name, database ID, what I have given in the SQL server. And then I'm going to give these details. I'm going to feed these SQL details, which will make a connection within your database server and the application server. And here, select color. This will help you to give whatever the color. Actually, these colors will help when you have multiple companies, multiple databases. So at that time, these colors will immensely help you to identify the correct database that you are logged in at the moment. And like then this will actually prevent some mistakes where users are doing at the moment. Let's say if one of the user want to enter some transaction into a correct database, but she or he has entered that transaction into a different database. So if you want to identify them, you can ask them the green, you can ask them a separate color. So then that will help you to identify the correct database where you logged in. And you can see such companies over here because I'm having these colored companies. This is my databases. This is my data companies. This is the place where I'm logged in. So yeah, that is the database setup. And this is the company name what I have given, because that you can see when you're logging. I'll close this, and when you're logging into this, you can see there is a at my company dropdown, you can see a company name called sample company. So that name coming from here. And once I logged in to my Sage database at my sample company, just keep your eye on this upper toggle. See, it changed to green color because I have chosen my sample company to be in green color. So that's why it have changed the upper part into the green color. So I'm going to close it. And then the database dump. Obviously, you can do this database dump and loading in two ways. Inside the Sage, which means like once you logged into the Sage also, you can do this dump and load thing. And separately, also you can do the database dump and load. Like database setup, there is once you install the Sage application, you will be able to see the database load. And that will also have the access just only to the admin user. And once you logged in, this will actually help you to identify where the backup should be goes, where the load should be goes. Actually, this is the database load window, which means this directory. This will help you to identify where your actual backups are stored. I have to tell you this, you can't restore a database backup via the database load, which means the backup which has been taken from the SQL server, because that that document type is different within the dump that what you are taking from the application. So there will be a slight different on the format, but it do the same. So you cannot restore a backup which has been taken from the SQL server, but whatever the backups that we have taken within the Sage, inside the Sage, you will be able to restore via this database load. So this will browse you to the place where you have taken your database dump. So I'm gonna go to the database dump. Actually, this is the place. So I'm gonna select my company, and once I put, and I'm gonna set my directory to the place where I should keep these backups. So then once I click dump, this will take a dump of whole application. So now I'm not going to do this because it's a time-consuming thing. This session we have some other important things to cover. So I'm not going to do this, but better you can test into one of your test application. So once you set up your directory and do the same for the sys also, then when you're dumping it, so I'm navigate this this load database load again. Once you dump your databases, once you dump your applications, so make sure you're going to the database load and put your administrative password, and then choose the path where you have dumped your databases. Then you browse it and always select this. This is the LTD company, but always make sure you are selecting your DAT company to the DAT company, your sys company to the sys company, which means always that dump should be goes to the as a dump, should be loaded as a dump, DAT, and sys dump should be loaded as a sys. So likewise, you can click on next and you can select your whatever the database, whatever the DAT database separately and sys database separately. And once you do next, and then once you do finish, this will process a log, and this will automatically restore the dump what we have taken from another database, and it will load to the database what you are selecting here. So once you finish it, once you start click on this finish button, that will get and that will restore the dump what we have taken. Similarly, you can do the same thing into the sys also. So, and once you click next, and then once you click finish, and then that will load whatever the dump log what you have taken from the sys other sys company. So likewise you can do so without touching your SQL server. You can do a database dump and a load by yourself by using this Sage application. Now that is the separate way of doing these database dumps and loads, but within once you logged into the Sage application also, you can do the same thing. Database dump and loads are having inside this administrative services module. So you can see this database dump and load also. So in here, the function would be the same. So it once will take the logged in, once will like this thing will do the dumping part, and this thing will make sure you loading your whatever the taken dump into the logged in company. So that is what the database dump is all about. So let's move in further and let's see how you can use two different companies, how you can log in two different companies at once. Obviously, once you log in to the Sage application, you can see in your taskbar, you can see the Sage icon. And once you right click on it, you can see another login screen, which is getting pop up all the time. And you can select your other login company, and you can do the same. So I'll be logging into the two different companies at once. So make sure you're right clicking on the Sage icon, and once you clicked on it, that will pop up you the Sage login details, and then you can select your login company, and you can log in from your same LAN pack what you have chosen, what you have used. And next thing would be once you logged into your Sage database, so your Sage login company, you can see in your top, you can see certain things. You can close your company, which means this once you click on this, that will close the whole logged in application at once. But make sure you're closing all the screens what you have opened up within that particular company. And make sure you saving all the things before you close the company. And next thing is like setting your page setup. This is the place where you're gonna set up your default printers, your page setups and everything, your default paper size, and what would be your orientations, like into the portrait or to the landscape mode. This will be a default printer size, but at your printing screen, you can still change to the preferred format or to the preferred print. Within the preferred printer, you can print whatever the previewed pages. So within the print destination here, you can set up what should be your print destination. All the time, this print destination will be set up into this preview, because this will not directly goes to the printer. This will show a preview before printer. Once if you put this print, once you click on this, what will happen is once you click and once you print a report, the report will be automatically getting printed without giving you the preview. Without going through this, you can still get this print destination by clicking on the icon which has been set up in here on your right corner. You can see at the bottom of your right corner, you can see a magnifier icon. Initially, once you logged in initially to the system, this will show a kind of a printer icon. But since I was using this database for such a long time, I have set up my initial printing destination should be as preview. That's why it's showing a magnifier. So once I double click on this, this will open up my printing destination. So still I can control this thing without going through here. Actually, printing destination can be set up via the page setup directly from your print destination and from this icon also. And this object will help you to open up all the selected windows, such as, so without double click on in here, without double clicking on this window, you can still open up the selected window by clicking on the object and open. And if you want to open up a new folder, you can create a new folder. If you want to create your own customized folder within these modules, you can click on the object, new object, and then go to the new, and even a macro or a report or a program or any folder. Without going through here, you can still create this thing by clicking, like right click on a particular module or a particular window, or not a window, actually in a particular module, and right click. And from here also you can set up your own window, and make sure you're making accessible this folder to all the users who's having access to this particular module. And once you click on finish, there will be a particular folder. So inside this folder, you can have your own reports, such as Krishna reports or any customized reports. Or if you want to move any standard reports to one particular place, you can put the things through here. So once you create your own folder, that will be visible through your navigation pane. So you can see this thing over here. So inside, I have created my own startup as my own customized module called startup. So I can see in here. So these are the objects that you can create. So once if you put restore defaults, that will revert to the default mode. And yeah. And if you can see, once you click on this up one level, I think this up one level will be will be visible only to the upgraded Sage products. If you are using 2017, I don't think you will have this up one level. But if you could see an up one level in those, what it does is it will always go to the first module in the navigation pane all the time. And if you want to make sure you are organizing your Sage application in your own way, you can click on this view, and it will have such as the way if you want to keep these things in icons as icons, you can see. If you want to have the details, you can set it up like that as well. And if you have your own macros, you can edit your own macros over here. And if you want to execute them, you can execute your macros. And if you want to have your own macro folders, you can set it up over here. And these notes, actually, if you have purchased the notes, this icon will be visible here. Since I have not purchased this thing, I will not be able to click on the notes. And this website, once you click on this website, this will be directly linking with the Sage website. So this will directly goes to the Sage website. And if you want to get some more information, you can go through this thing. And most important thing is the help. Without clicking on this thing, once you put F on something, you can see so once you click on this F1, let's see if I want to go to a particular place such as invoice entry or something. If I put F1, I was clicking on the F1, and then I will be able to get my help guide. I was not clicking on anything. I was just pressing the F1 in my keyboard. So then that will give you an explanation on the selected window, and on the selected field that will give a detailed explanation. So that's what help is doing for you. This is about your system configurations, and this is about your currently purchased modules within the Sage application, and the versions and the license information is also there. I think these things will be visible for you. And if you want to see the current logged in, current users, here about, and then licenses, if you want to see who are the users who's logged in at the moment, once you clicking on this, since I'm the only user in my application who's logged in at the moment, it will be showing here. If you click on the screens that I have opened, it will shows up the screens that I have opened. So likewise, and it will shows the number of land packs you have and the number of current land packs that who has utilized. So those informations will be visible via this about login and via these things. So that is about your startup and your setup and your control shortcuts. And let's move to the data entry shortcuts. And we know in a real scenario, most of the users get thousands of records and transactions to enter daily into their systems within a minimum period of time. But there will be some data entry shortcuts. If we know them, that will help you a lot on achieving those things pretty easily. So these things will make your life easier. So page up and page down. And once you open up your Once you open up your invoice batch list, let's say as an example, I'm taking this invoice batch list now. In here, you can see there are a number of records are here. So I want to get a finder directly without clicking on here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press F5. So once I put F5, that will be directly directing onto the transaction screens what I have at the moment. And once you go to the page up, if you click on the page up, that will directly go into the top of the records. And if you click on this, that will skipping onto the top till it finds the exact transaction which is in the top at the moment. Like do the same. If you go to the page down, that will always go to the bottom transaction. It will skip onto the bottom transaction. And if you directly if I want to go directly to the first record, you can click on control plus page up, and then control page down. This will skipping into the bottom directly without clicking on this page up, and that will directly skipping onto the up and down transactions. Yeah. This thing, right. And let's say if you are entering a invoice transaction, let's say as an example, if you are entering an invoice or something, and if they have number of fields, I know there are number of fields to enter the data to save a transaction. So at that time you can click on tab, and once you click on insert in your keyboard, that will open up a new batch entry, and you can, if you want to skip onto the detail levels, if you want to without clicking any of the fields, if you want to directly skip, you can press tab, and then that will directly move into the table, and this tab will help you to feed the data pretty quickly. And then same thing will be happening. Like then if you want to find something, if you want to filter something, and or else if you want to customize your query windows, and let's say if you want to add some columns into your query windows, you can add your columns through here by clicking on the settings, go to the columns, and if you want to add any details which you can see in here to your query window, what will happen is that will add up your newly added column into here. Now I have added number of errors as my new column, so that will go up here. And if you want to go to the up, you can keep it as up, and what will happen is it will be set up on the place where you have kept that particular column. If you want to exclude something, you can do the same, and once you click OK, that will be revert to the default what I have set up. Else, if you want to color on something, now you can see here the highlighted one was having one particular color. But if I want to highlight a color based on the field, I can set it up now. I want to set my batch number field to the red color. What I'm going to do is either I can change the text color, or if I want to change the background color, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set it up into the red. And if I'm keeping it here, so what will happen is whole batch number fields will be filling with the red color. And if you can see, when you're moving into that particular column, that will be getting changed. But you want to keep it, if you want to keep it as it is, so once you click on the restore defaults, that will be revert to the place where it was within the revert color. It will be reverting back to the color. So, and here find by. Now, if you want to set a certain criteria, because if you are taking some transaction, if you are taking only similar transaction every day, if you are working with the similar operations, if you are working with some similar task every day, if you want to, you can set up. Now, let's say if you want to get, if you want to enter some details, you want to get some, you want to get some entries where you have such a entries where you want to post the entries where you have more than 5 or something, you can set it up. And if you click on that, and if you set it up, that what will happen is all the time it will shows you only the transactions, only the batches where you have more than 5 entries, because of the set criteria what we have set up in here. If you want to clear them, you can clear it. So once you save it, again it will gives you all the details without considering the criteria what we have set up, because since you have cleared it. If you want to add anything into the here, you want to add any criteria, you can have your own customized criteria. You can have it in here. So that are some important parts. And if we goes back to the slides, let's say now if you're opening a order, and if you, without accessing the finder, you want to go to the last record. So how you're going to use it? Let's take a transaction window first of all. I'm taking my oriented transactions without taking the finder. If I want to go to the last record, I'm clicking on here. So then that will always go to my last record. And if I want to go to my first record, this will always go to the first record. If I want to get the finder, I press F5, and that will take me to the magnifier or to the finder. And this auto search will help you. Whatever the entering values, it will always match, and it will trying to find the entered values are having any transaction. It will always find to give you that particular transaction. So if you do not click on this, you will have to go through each and everywhere to find your own transaction. But if you click on this auto search, that will help you to identify your own transaction. So yeah, those are the things what you can do, and those are the things where you can reduce your time by accessing and by entering these things. And there is an option to enter the transaction in a bulk, as a bulk, and import sheets will help you to enter your transactions within one particular Excel, and we will share you those import sheets later. So then once you feed the data into that import sheet, uh, we'll have to save it and browse it only. Then system will automatically take them into the system and it will automatically create the order by itself. So you can post at once. So I believe that import sheet is also will do a immense part when you're entering bulk work at once. Now there is import thing to do. Now, if I want to go to the tabs at once, and I'll go like this. And if I want to calculate on something, what I do is, let's say if I want to calculate a customer credit limit without entering, and I want to see how a customer credit limit has been calculated within the system. So I will have to go to a numeric field. So if I want to get calculator without, if I want to calculate directly, what you can do is I put shift and my operator button, like a plus or a equal. There is a button called plus or equal. So shift plus equal or shift plus plus operator button, that will get you the calculator. So make sure you are getting this calculator for a field which is set up as numerics. So these fields are not a calculator field, but if this is a calculator field, once you put on this, you can take this. If you go into the quantity as well, you can get a calculator, but make sure you are selecting a field which is set up as calculator, as where it takes a calculation. Uh, so those are the things what we can do when you're entering the transactions. Now, when you're calculating something without accessing your mobile calculator or the desktop calculator, so if you want to calculate something on your Sage, you make sure you're uh, clicking, make sure you're pressing shift plus your operator button, plus or equals key, then it will help you to get the calculation without accessing your mobile or the Windows, your the desktop calculator. So let's say this is the first time that you're accessing Sage application, and if you don't know anything in Sage, and if you want to directly go to a place, and if you want to start doing on something by understanding the process flow, this visual process flow is help you to do so. Now, if I want to do a payment transaction, I'm clicking on the visual process flows. Actually, that will be in your navigation pane. That will be always your last record, last module. So I want to click and I want to get and I want to see how I want to enter my transactions. So that will get you a process flow, and this is the place that where it enters the window invoices, and this is the place where you make a payment. So if I double click on this, it will open up my payment screen. So I don't have to go module by module to identify the screen where I should enter my payments. This visual process flow will help you to do it at once. if I want to enter a payment invoice, an invoice, I'm clicking on the visual process. If I want to enter an AR invoice, something, I'm going to the AR transactions. I'm clicking on invoicing the customer. That will open up an invoice batch list. So then it will be helping me to identify where I should enter the transactions. So those are the things, those are the shortcuts where you can adapt to the Sage as soon as possible, and where you can enter your transactions. So that these shortcuts will make your life easier. Those are the tips and tricks that you can capture within Sage application. So I hope all those things will help you to enter your transaction and to maintain your transactions, and this will reduce a lot of time. But make sure you doing all these things in a test instance. So thanks for participating on this session. So I'll open up the house for questions. Thank you. Guys, any questions? Okay. So if you have any queries with regards to these tips and tricks, please write us csu@celian.com. So then we will be able to assist via that. Else you can send any queries to me via anjana.r@celian.com. So then I will be able to assist you as soon as possible. Thanks for participating onto the session. Have a great day.